Hey, it's Stephen Platinum, your friend in wrestling with Ask Platinum number 8. This question is... I'm laughing because of how simple the question was and the form at which it was sent to me. So without getting into it too deep, because this person didn't seem to care whether I listed their name or not, they texted me with just, who won? Gab or FF? And so I thought about it, and I have to admit, I was like, Gab? I had no idea what Gab was, but I saw FF, and I immediately went, Fantastic Four. So I'm like, oh, is this like a old geeky comic book friend of mine? And then for some reason when I went, well, Gab, and I went, oh, Great American Bash, and then, oh, Fyter Fest. Oh, who won, Great American Bash or Fyter Fest? Who won? It's a great question. It's a loaded question. What they're really asking is, which shows were better, I suppose. But let's look. Of course, there's a number of ways that each of them won. So let's quickly go into that. Who got better ratings? The NXT Great American Bashes did, flat out. You can talk about demographics, and in the main demographic that everybody cares about, yes, AEW won both of those handily. I think both of them lost in the sense that their second week shows, the one that happened last Wednesday, where presumably the biggest matches and the biggest angles were being paid off, both of them lost viewership from the week before of like between 4 and 5%. And people would say, that's not that big of a deal. That's 1 out of every 25 or 1 out of 20 less people watching at the point which you're supposed to be building. And all wrestling shows are showing this similar weakness, too, of when they really want everybody watching, that a lot of people are tuning out, like the third hour of Raw, people aren't watching, et cetera, et cetera. But the good news was both the Orange Cassidy-Jericho match and the Lee Cole match, which was fantastic. I make no bones about the fact that out of the two shows, I watch AEW as it's happening and talk about it. And then if I hear about something good happening on NXT, I'll watch it on the back end. I love AEW. I love the idea of AEW. I love the fact that I just think they have a potential to do something different. But I'm here to give you my straight opinion. I think Great American Bash overall pulled off. I guess if you, at the end of the day, if I had to give a higher grade, I'd say the Great American Bash did better. However, I would say that the Fyter Fest managed to overcome things that should have been bigger deals. Not having Moxley and kind of ruining that whole thing. Instead, they've parlayed it into now another week of quote-unquote big shows with Fight for the Fallen. Which, honestly, I said this in my Fyter Fest Week 2 report, that I think that it's a better show on paper. I think Orange Cassidy was made into a star. I also think Lee was made into a bona fide top flight star, and it was great to see. And it also sort of pointed out a phenomenon that I've noticed, that the majority of the WWE champions in general, all three brands, are people of color. They've kind of quietly stolen that thunder from AEW, and I think it's phenomenal. I don't think it should be a contest on who can get more people of color in positions of prominence. Certainly AEW has done a good job, and they've improved their women's division, and they have the superior tag team division. But, they're slugging it out with NXT. There's just no ways about it. And the fact that both of them deny that there's some kind of war going on, they both said things to that effect, and both of them do things that completely belie that. Let's just call it what it is. It's a scrap between NXT and AEW. And if you had to declare who won the 2 rounds, I'd say it was the Great American Bash. Just the fact that they announced it as a way of sort of hurting them for Fyter Fest and managed to do it, I think you got to call that a victory. But I think AEW, if they take on the long game approach, which I believe NXT now has, a friend of mine pointed out, and I think accurately so, the guys from the Tapped Out podcast in discussions that we were having, that NXT has done a good job of building up baby faces, and that's really fucking hard to do. And I can't deny it. And I'm happy that they're doing it, actually. And but then they said, and you can say whatever you want about once these guys go to the main brands, and it's like, yeah, you can, because they're gonna fuck it up there. And that's their stumbling block. AEW has a chance, because they are their own brand, right? Of doing this thing right. And that is certainly the hope. And I think after Fyter Fest, the one thing that was a little disturbing about Fyter Fest is it still feels like they need an adult in the room. I know they don't want to have a traditional booker, but I would urge them, hell, make it me. Just somebody there to facilitate all of these ideas coming out and put them in a cohesive form and do some continuity checks and do some detail checking and help alleviate some of these problems. I mean, the referees looking like idiots is a problem that persists. Them not being able to cross-promote effectively amongst the different things that they do is a problem. Not being able to bring in people who aren't hardcore wrestling fans and AEW fans. They're just speaking to their base again and again and again, and that's a problem. Anyway, this has been Ask Platinum number 8. Who won? FF or GAB, or who won GAB or FF? I'm Stephen Platinum, your friend in wrestling.